Doc Henry Holliday. Is he buried in Griffin, Georgia, right here in these unmarked graves, his hometown? Or in this grave, or this graveyard in Glenwood Springs, Colorado? So we're in Griffin, Georgia, coming to see the other grave site of Doc Holliday. The one that a lot of people claim that his dad went out to Glenwood Springs, Colorado to retrieve his remains after he was buried in Glenwood Springs. That they exhumed him and brought him back here. And a lot of people think that these two graves are Doc Holliday and his dad. So I'm gonna show it to you now. So one of these graves could be Doc Holliday. Doc Holliday final resting place. During his adventures out west, Doc Holliday received a notorious reputation as a gambler and a gunfighter. When speaking of Doc Holliday, Wyatt Earp reportedly stated, "I found him a loyal friend and good company. He was a dentist whom necessity had made a gambler, a gentleman whom disease had made a vagabond. In reality, he was a dying man and nothing could be done to extend his life." John Henry Doc Holliday died November 8, 1887 at the age of 36 in Glenwood Springs, Colorado, from consumption or tuberculosis. Years earlier, the same disease claimed the lives of his mother, Alice, Jane, and adopted brother, Francisco, I couldn't get those names. Local lore claims that after hearing of his son's death, Doc's father, Henry Holliday, traveled from Valdosta westward to Colorado. Legend continues that Henry brought Doc back to Griffin to be buried in his hometown. This unmarked plot has been identified by some Holliday historians as well as a possible burial site of John Henry Doc Holliday. Additionally, some believe that the second unmarked grave belongs to Henry Holliday, who wished to be placed in eternal rest next to his son, despite their strange relationship. Anyway, this has been the gravesite of Doc Holliday, the one in Griffin, Georgia. We are heading on a trip out west next month. Carrie's brother's getting married, and we're gonna go the long route, and we're gonna go through Glenwood Springs and get a video of his gravesite there. Gravesite at Griffin Springs. So, or not Griffin Springs, I'm sorry, Glenwood Springs. So, we're gonna get both videos here in Griffin, Georgia and Glenwood Springs, Colorado. This is a screenshot of my phone I took when we got to Glenwood Springs, Colorado. This is the distance from Glenwood Springs, Colorado to Griffin, Georgia. 1,594 miles, almost 1,600 miles. So this one's been a bucket list for me. Been wanting to get up here. I was in Griffin, Georgia 3 weeks ago at the possible gravesite in Georgia. And now I'm here in Glenwood Springs in Colorado to see the one that's here. I figure either way I visited him, whichever spot he's in. That little hike is keep my butt a little bit. When I'm turning around, let's see it. It's a memorial dedicated to Doc Holliday, who is buried someplace in this cemetery. Not necessarily right here. And I saw one YouTuber say this is the actual spot right here. I think it's supposed to have three X's on it down there. So some say that's, well, I heard one YouTuber say that's the actual location. I don't think he knows. I don't think anyone does. So this is it. The memorial for Doc Holliday. Like I said, they say he's buried somewhere in this cemetery, and a lot of people believe his dad drove. Although guy came here all the way from Griffin, Georgia, to retrieve his body and bring him back to Griffin, Georgia. And I got a video on that. I visited that grave just a few weeks ago. So anyway, this is the location where the building stood where Doc Holliday died, and of that there is no question. And inside that building here is supposedly the original headstone that was in Glenwood Springs, Colorado. So when I started this, and before I went and visited both these grave sites, I was kind of leaning towards he's probably in Colorado, in Glenwood Springs. Because, you know, it's just a long way. Back in the 1800s, that would have been a long haul, 1,600 miles. And I'm sure it would have had to been done by train back then. And I just felt like, you know, that's probably a large task back in those days. It'd be a large task today, probably, especially if you didn't have an airplane. So I just, you know, I was leaning towards he's buried somewhere in Colorado in Glenwood Springs. But, you know, I thought it was interesting that the Griffin, Georgia angle. And I think since I have looked into this, and there's a little bit of credibility that goes with the Griffin, Georgia thing, because there was some ladies that used to take care of the grave way back when, and they were paid by the Doc Holliday family to take care of those particular graves, and taking care of Doc Holliday's graves. And that's, you know, back before he wasn't as famous when he was alive as he is now. I mean, he was known, and he was a known figure, but those Wild West characters didn't really come to prominence until the 1920s, I think, you know, to really become famous. So these women that claim to have been paid to take care of Doc Holliday's grave in Griffin, Georgia, has a little credibility to it. And there's even some story about maybe a cousin went out to get him and not his dad. If you watch the video that Faces of the Forgotten does on Doc Holliday, he was kind of like me. He was kind of leaning towards the, you know, him being buried in Colorado somewhere. But I think he was convinced during all his research that he probably is in Griffin. So I think I'm leaning towards Griffin, Georgia. I think that's probably where he is, but you know, we just don't know for sure. Obviously, but that's where I'm leaning. I'm leaning towards Griffin. I think he's probably there. Hope he's there. It's probably a better story, huh? Either way, let me know what you think. You think he's buried in Georgia, or you think he's in Colorado? Let me know. Comment below. And let me know what you think about the video. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And remember, not all those who wander are lost. Thanks for watching.